Hello. In this section, I'm going to go over how I make something organic like this, starting with our base mesh in Maya, and then bringing that into ZBrush, giving it some detail and extracting from there our low poly. And then finally, just do a little bit of labor and finishing with our final product. All right, let's kick it off. So let's check our references real quick. So I got different styles. Some are different colors and shapes, which is gonna be good for organics. So really don't have to stick to one size, or it's just really messy. And so we need to deconstruct all of this and try to build something that is a little bit more modular and friendly to use. So before this, I had already made some research about how these rocks work, where they created, why the colors look like that, what the temperature is like around these rocks, what microorganisms grow in there, what are the scientific names for all of these things. And I did it through watching documentaries, YouTube videos, and just researching online. There's a lot of information about thermal rocks, and it's part of the job to actually know all these things before you even start. So I would recommend you watch some videos before you do any sculpting or anything else. Okay, so we're gonna figure out how this thing is built, or figure out the pieces that make up this. So for example, seeing here, couple shapes that we can extract. And then when water flows down, you could see a little bit of a buildup, and then when you get another terrace, a smaller terrace. And there's these tiny ones, and there's buildup. It's called flowstone. There's more buildup there, and there's bigger flowstone over here. So all of that we're going to incorporate, so it just doesn't look like if the water falls down and that's it. We have to put a few little ones to make it more interesting. And then we have these ones that look very alive because all of the colors and the microorganisms that are living in here. You see the greens, you see the oranges, unlike the ones in the background that look dead or inactive. And these little guys are called thermophiles. Some sort of microorganisms that grow on top of the stone and gives that color. And then we have these ones over here that are in wider at the top, and it looks like there's little bits of buildup hanging off the sides, unlike the other ones. And also the flowstone buildup that we see pretty much all of them. We can see them better here, very bubbly. All right, so we need to come up with a game plan to do this. So there's a few ways to go about it. Okay, so we know that we need one or three sizes actually. So we can go about it and go each one and make each one in ZBrush, very unique, sculpted, and then the problem is that we need three sizes, one big one small one, and extra large one. So three sizes. So that's 3 times the amount of work that we will have to do to make this. What I prefer is to make a tileable mesh that we're going to make in ZBrush. And then we can tile it a few times and then deform it in Maya. So we will be repeating the same mesh and then deforming it to create different sizes, different shapes. And I think this is the best way to go about this. All right, so in my going to create a 4 meter by 4 meter tile mesh. I start with my EB curve and then trace more or less the shape that I want to. And then create a NURB circle and extrude along. And then we're gonna make it into a wall. So remember that I needed to tile 4 meters. So I make sure that all the edges match on all four sides and tiles every 4 meters. And I have that little extra, which excess, which is gonna serve me when I go into ZBrush. And this extra is gonna serve me as cushion. Okay, so I think this is a good start. And next thing we're gonna go into ZBrush. Okay, so we're gonna start by dynameshing this thing and then adding a little bit of build-up at the top. And as you can see, when I'm getting close to the borders, I go ahead and start doing symmetry. So I know that it's symmetrical. And then when I'm in the middle, I just remove symmetry. Sometimes I forget to remove it. Okay, and then I go about doing some build up at the top, at the bottom, and overall try to make it look uneven, adding some little bubbles and bulges. And I'm gonna use some of my brushes to give it some texture, help me do this faster. So I always use morph target first, apply the noise, and then after that I just go and remove it just a little. Then I go in there and then just try to add some dips and make it look more uneven. Delineate that buildup at the top. And then I think I'm ready for the next step, which is adding this bubbly filter. Reverse it. And then I have that nice bubble texture that you get. I use morph target and then bring it back. In some places, I don't want it everywhere. Then I'm going to inflate just a little bit so we get that bulgy, chunky look. Don't do it too much, otherwise it's gonna mess with your geometry. Just do it just slightly so it can inflate that certain shapes or certain patterns. I did this a lot for my other rocks. Well, let's keep adding bigger patterns now. Again, use morph target to bring some of those back wherever I need. And this is the process pretty much that I go through. It is like just working certain areas, trying to not to make it so uniform all throughout. Try to make certain noises here, certain noises there. So each one face has a different look. Remember that we're doing the back and the front, so we can use the back in some rocks and the front in other rocks. And right now, I'm adding a little bit of that horizontal noise. I've seen like little cascading noise that happens in these rocks, and smooth out some areas so it's not all noisy. It's good to give it like a few areas of rest. Yeah, it's pretty easy to just keep adding and adding noises. So as you can see, I have three different styles of noises. So I have like build-ups, uh, little bubbles, and the horizontal noise. And I go in and just try to accentuate color the patterns, break up some shapes, and inflate again. Morph targets. I'm just gonna inflate in some areas. Right. So far I've been just concentrating on everything, but I need to figure out that those corners actually tile, and I don't see a huge seam. Well, at least try to make sure that I don't see a huge one. So basically, I'm going to duplicate one side and duplicate on the other, right where that edge is going to be, and remove the excess. I just forgot when I was doing this that I should have made those chunks, extra chunks, the same size, because when I do symmetry, it's gonna do a bad symmetry job. So then I have to, eyeball it and uh, trim the excess. And then I'm going to try to merge or blend these two so you don't see that harsh line there. Try to pay attention to the opposite side too sometimes because it's not perfectly symmetrical. I'm just trying to break up that repetition of that line by adding detail. And then just use H polish to flatten it out here and there. And as you can see, the line is almost gone. I guess finally I'm just gonna add some water buildups, as if it little by little the water is just making its way and building up these little water streaks. And then adding some bubbly chunks. Yeah, in reality, you're never done. You're always trying to come up with new ideas. Even after I finish, you still have to see if your normal map picks up all the detail. If not, you might have to come back and accentuate some of those details that you really want the normal map to have. So it's a back and forward. Well, I think we are ready to make our low poly and bring this into Maya and start financing our low poly. Okay, so I'm gonna skip ahead, and I did the decimated version of this, and then I'm gonna bring this into Maya. Okay, so we have our high and low. Make sure it fits more or less 4 meters. And then remove the faces at the bottom because we don't need those. And remove the faces on the side too. And we're gonna try to make sure that our edges fit perfectly on the grid. Both edges on the side. I want this to tile perfectly. So skipping ahead, I was able to flatten it out on the side, and now I'm duplicating a special and matching each vertex to one side. I chose the right side to match onto the left. And sometimes I go in and add vertices to match both sides. So I think that's it for this one. The only thing we need is to now make some UVs. And I think I'm just gonna UV it and cut it in the middle. Because mainly what I'm going to be seeing is the sides, not the top much. And if so, the top I can just blend the transition with a solid color. So I can get rid of that edge. And not only we need to make sure that it tiles the mesh, we also need to make sure our UVs also tile. So let's do a planar projection in the front for both. And then make sure the checkers look square. They do. And now we're gonna smooth so it stretches nicely. I don't see any distortion in the texture. The other thing I need to do is each edge, all of the UVs have to line up on the square and line up relative to each other. So I select each vertex on each side and try to make sure they line up. All right. So you don't see me doing all that work. I skip ahead, and now I have a tileable mesh and a tileable UV. Next thing, we're gonna bring this bad boy inside Painter, and then I'm going to get our normal map. One trick that I do is I double the normal map. I add it into a new material and just duplicate the normal map. Okay, so we're gonna check for seams. There's a little bit of a seam on that end, and that's all right. We're just gonna have to bring this into Photoshop, this normal map, and get rid of it extra. So as you can see, I'm at 2048. I'm going to offset it by 1024 just on the horizontal, not on the vertical. And you're gonna see the seam right in the middle. And we use the healing brush. Just try to get rid of that seam. And unfortunately, you might have to do this for all the maps that come out of Painter, because they probably all have that edge. It's just the nature of the work. Otherwise, you can just go into ZBrush and spend more time and trying to make sure those edges don't show up. Let's check. And okay, well, I forgot to actually do another offset, so I have to go back to Photoshop and do the offset and then save it. Okay, so I'm gonna start building our final product, which is the pool, the thermal pool. Let's duplicate 3 times, tile it. Then we're gonna merge the vertices and do a Van deformer. There it is, our pool is created. The first one of many. Okay, now we need to add the water plane, we need to add the interior, and maybe deform it here and there to make it look not so round. Yeah, this is the fun part. When you already made all the work, you just need to make sure they don't look similar. So I add a bunch of deformers, lattice deformers here on the side too. And you can also use the a sculpt brush to pull out the vertices. So deforming and then erasing history, adding more deformers. I think this is fine. Uh, Now we're going to make the water plane using our quad draw tool. Add a few more loops so it matches the edge. Okay, let's add a material, transparent materials, so we know that that's water. Now I really don't need all of that geometry inside. I can get rid of some of it because basically inside it's going to be hidden all the time, and the water probably is going to have some reflection. So I don't need all that detail. So what I'm going to do is just remove it and then extrude new geometry with a lower polygon count. So for that, I have to go into basically my UVs and find each vertex and merge it. I should have done this from the beginning before I did that whole deforming, so I could have saved and do it once and repeat it, but I forgot about that, so it's okay. I'm just going to do this manually on all three. And wherever you see that the UVs detach, I go and move and sew. And then once I'm done, uh, I will go ahead and extrude, and there will be less polygons. So on each step, I will go ahead and start merging uh, vertices until like I'm left with very minimum amount of polygons inside, which are never gonna be seen. Yep, then finally the last one, and we're gonna UV the interior, and it's gonna be a separate material actually. Um, I'm going to also use the normal map for this, just the normal map, not the textures. It's gonna help us add extra detail for the interior. This is gonna be done inside of material in Unreal. And there it goes, the first one of many. All right, so I'm gonna show you the final ones. I made just two for now, but different shapes. And just by deforming it, you can see that it is a completely different object. So really, you don't need to make that many of these stream sheets. You just need to make different shapes. All right, so in a later chapter, I'm gonna show you the final um, texture inside of the Unreal. So stay tuned for the next chapter. Just like and subscribe. Well, jokes aside, actually, I went back to this my zebra sculpt, and I felt that it was a little flat, so I ended up going and bulging it up a little bit. I masked peaks and valleys, and then deflate some areas. I just gotta be careful because it will mess uh, with your mesh. So just do it lightly. And then I use inflat to go around and just puffing it up a little bit more and making those intrusions a little bit more defined, deeper, so it's picked up by the renderer inside Painter. And once inside Painter, I was able to give it um, a quick texturing job, just so I can show you more or less how it looks inside of Unreal. Once I plug in some materials, which we'll be seeing in the next chapters. For now, I'm still working on this. It's a work in progress, and I still need some parts to add to it. But this basic idea is just keep building out of that one trim sheet, building different versions of this same drippy thermal terrace. Some of the features that I added was just changing the color for the water, changing the color of the interior of the pool, and changing the color of those drips too. So I will be able to control uh, what coloration I get to see. And of course, I'm going to be able to paint inside of it, but that will be at a later time when everything is complete. I hope you like this and see you in the next one.